that's the thing with the Instagram ad. You're paying a couple $1,000s a month to really build your business through Facebook and Instagram. It's only getting more and more expensive for businesses. SEO is organic. It's free traffic. With SEO combined with like Pinterest, I mean, you can really grow your website for free.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, a podcast designed to encourage women to take their back of the napkin idea, launch it, and grow a wildly successful business. I founded We Wild Women, an entrepreneur training company, to help women like you, moms and go-getters, start the business of their dreams the right way. Not too long ago, I launched my $1 million agency when I was 8 months pregnant with my first son and welcomed my second son only 11 months later. So I know how to grow businesses and babies. Join me as I teach you the guiding principles and how to start and grow your business while overcoming the voice in your head screaming, "It's not possible." These raw and funny episodes will make you feel like you're right here with me, sipping on some Pinot and leaving more confident saying, "Yes, I can." Every episode leaves you with some action items and a real kick in the ass to get started. Here on Into the Wild, you'll hear from other trailblazing entrepreneurs and experts because I know that the best advice is from someone who's successfully done it before. So put your headphones on, grab a cup of coffee, and tune in because Into the Wild is about to begin.
Subscribe to my mom's podcast.
Hey, you wild women. My next guest is the founder of Lady ChangeMakers, an all-inclusive e-commerce platform for women-owned businesses. She's an expert in creating exposure and driving traffic for e-commerce businesses. She launched Lady ChangeMakers 2.0 in 2021 in an effort to create a central e-commerce hub for women-owned businesses. Think Amazon, but all lady bosses. The platform launched with 25 founding members by invite only and has now opened up memberships for additional vendors. Today, she is focused on helping women grow their e-commerce businesses by educating them on exposure, SEO, and more. Please welcome the incredible Jessica Bargenquast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Me too. I mean, SEO is kind of nerdy. It's not something you sign up for to watch with coffee on a Saturday morning. But let me tell you, it's one of those things we just don't even think about when we're starting business.
I am a self-proclaimed nerd, so I love this stuff. I love all the things on the back end that everyone else seems to hate.
Perfect. I love it. So let's start off with some quick questions. Are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right. So where are you from?
I am based out of Phoenix, Arizona, originally from the Midwest, though. So I grew up in Wisconsin, but I've been in Arizona for over 15 years.
I feel like everyone's from Wisconsin and moves to Arizona.
Yeah, nobody wants to stay in Wisconsin. It's too cold.
No, but the summers are beautiful.
Yeah. Well, a little humid, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. What is your favorite quote?
So Jamie Lernkema, I love this quote from her. Being underestimated can be a superpower. They don't see you coming. She's the founder of It Cosmetics, and I just love that quote because it makes being an underdog powerful.
I coach my kids' basketball team, and some of these kids are like, they probably weigh 50 pounds soaking wet, but I'm just like so shocked at these little kids coming out of nowhere playing defense and like, just, it's incredible. And there's like, they're the underdogs, but they're so underestimated. So that the person that's like checking, that's guarding them, like their check, don't even know what's coming.
Exactly.
Like little kids, like boom, and it's like whoa.
I even feel as women, a lot of times, just women in general, we're often underestimated, especially if we come from male-dominated industries.
Yeah, she was just quoted, I think, on my last podcast too, because apparently her book is one that we have to read. Have you read it? Oh,
it's so good. I love her book. I read it as soon as it came out.
What's it called again?
Oh gosh, don't quiz me on that. I'm not
okay.
good at
Anyways, I'll put it in the show notes.
I have to look it up.
No
but
worries.
It's great, I promise.
Yeah, I heard it was amazing. Okay, so what is one of the best pieces of business advice you ever received?
Listen to the people who have been there before. So I have definitely followed advice from people who say they know how to get there, but had never actually been there. And everything changed in my business for me when I hired a business consultant who had already built, scaled, sold multiple businesses. So following someone's advice who's actually been there before.
That's what I say in the intro of my show. Is the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, for me, coaching is I know how to grow a service-based business to over $1 million in revenue. So I'm a coach for those people that want to get their service-based business to $1 million. Beyond that, it's like, I've never done it. So maybe I'm not the one for you. But also, like, on that note is being inspired by people that are successful in other industries.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Jennifer Kim, who was on my show like a month ago, said something along those lines, like, get inspired by innovators, creative people, risk takers that are not necessarily within your industry, because it could just trigger something in you.
If you're in an industry where you don't have a lot of people to really look up to. So for me being more tech-based, there's not a ton of women-owned businesses that I can look up to that have been there before. So I do have to find that inspiration in other kind of industries and different niches.
So what is one of your biggest business mistakes?
Going back to what the best advice, I listened to people who had not been there before. And then I was wondering why nothing was happening in my business, because I was doing all the things that I thought was right, but it ended up they just didn't understand or had been there before. They've never scaled a business before. So listening to the wrong people has definitely set me back, but also great learning lesson.
I know. And you know what? Like I always say, you're not going to ask for parenting advice from someone who's never had a baby before. But one caveat is that sometimes those unbiased perspectives are something to consider. Mm-hmm. And I've had some really good advice from people that absolutely never wanted to have kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But yes, definitely you want to listen to those people that have done it before. Okay. So is there a book, a podcast, or something you're reading or listening to now that you can highly recommend?
I'm a big fan of How I Built This. It's one of my favorite podcasts. And there's also, my friend has a podcast called PM School. That's a really good podcast. She has a lot of great women-owned businesses that are on there. She's focused on product-based businesses, and I always find that really interesting.
So what does PM stand for?
I don't know what PM stands for.
Project management?
I know. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind, but that's not what that stands for. I think it's just PM for like nighttime.
Oh, so, nighttime.
Yeah.
Night school.
Yeah, night school. Yeah.
Okay. That totally makes sense too. I love it. Okay. Well, I'll put all that in the show notes. So let's jump into this. I'd love to know what inspired you to start your company and why is it your platform that you've created? Why is this important today?
Mm-hmm. So Lady ChangeMakers has been just a long time coming. I had never wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was never in my purview. I always wanted to be a CEO of a company, but I didn't know that that would mean being the CEO of my own company. I always just thought I was going to be in advertising and always aspired for that like Mad Men lifestyle. And then I got into advertising and absolutely hated it. It's male dominated. I kind of got ate up, spit out, lots of misogyny in that kind of environment. And this just wasn't healthy for me. So I got out of advertising and just went into the marketing world and had been there for a long time and just kept getting this itch of wanting to help women-owned businesses. And this has been years of me just wanting to help women-owned businesses, but not really knowing what that looked like. So it really wasn't until I just had this idea for myself where I was on Instagram all the time, saving these women-owned businesses that I wanted to support. And you know how you can create those little bookmarks in Instagram, save them into these little folders. Just kept telling myself when I'm out and about in my community, I can pull them up and I can go to their shops and support them. Well, I'd go out and then totally forget to open my Instagram. It wasn't intuitive to be like, oh yeah, my women-owned businesses are safe in here. So I created an online directory initially for myself, just so I could organize all the women I wanted to support when I was out. And then it turns out that 83% of women want to support women-owned businesses, but 62% don't know where to find them. So lo and behold, I wasn't by myself in this. So that's how Lady ChangeMakers was really born, was just creating this central hub where we could go to easily find women-owned businesses to support in our local communities. And that was in about 2019, I was building out that directory. And then the pandemic hit. So we were really going to launch the directory in 2020. The whole focus was to be in your local communities that you could go out and support, but then everything shut down. And it turns out that the local aspect, while it's still really important, it wasn't the sole mission anymore to support your local communities, because now we could find women-owned businesses and support them wherever they were, because everyone's online now. So now I can find women-owned businesses to support across the nation. So we started with about 50 businesses in the beginning of 2020, and we're at over 750 in our directory today, growing every day, which is really exciting. And then late last year, you'll find out that I have bigger visions every year for where I want Lady ChangeMakers to go. So in 2021, I wanted to not only help people find women-owned businesses, but I wanted people to be able to shop them as well from our platform. So we created a marketplace at the end of last year. And we started with 25 women-owned businesses in that platform and have been growing that marketplace since the beginning of this year.
And is it just product-based businesses?
No, that's what's really exciting is that we have both service-based businesses and product-based businesses in our marketplace. So I really want this to become the central hub for everything women-owned. It's the go-to place if you want to support a women-owned business.
So I could sign up?
Of course, yes. We're working our next phase of this is we want to create events within here too. So if you're an event-based business, you can actually sell your event tickets from our platform as well. So think like Yelp meets Amazon meets Eventbrite all in one spot.
And so how do you make money? How does it work?
Well, that was my biggest learning lesson of last year. So my original business model was the MailChimp model, which is get them in for free and into our directory. So if you join our directory, it's completely free to join. And then I would upsell you what I called a glowed up listing. So we would do all of the SEO for your listing to help you be found in Google search results. And I was finding that the MailChimp model was not making me any money. And it just was not working at all. So when I met that business consultant I mentioned before, I brought this up to her, and the best advice, she just said, do you want to make money in the next 10 years? Like, do you just not plan on making anything? Because that's what MailChimp was. It really didn't make any money for quite a long time. I said, no, I want this to be my full-time thing. I would love to start making money now. So we had to relook at your entire business model. So we restructured my entire business model, and I had this big vision of wanting to create a marketplace, and I couldn't afford the new platform that we needed to make. So we pre-sold these founding members, that I call them, into our marketplace. So I got to pre-sell people into a vision that I was trying to create. And so we have these 25 amazing women-owned businesses who believed in the vision that we have for creating this exposure for women-owned businesses. So because of these 25 founding members that we had, they helped me pay for this new platform. So how we make money now is that it's still free to join our directory, because I want there to be no barrier to entry for women to gain visibility. All you do is pay a one-time investment into the marketplace if you want additional exposure and for people to shop your site. So it's a one-time fee into our marketplace. And we don't do things that Amazon and Etsy do. So they charge fees for everything. They charge fees for transactions, for listing products and services. They charge you so many fees. And I don't know how product-based businesses keep all of their bottom line. I don't know how they keep their bottom line straight with those platforms. It was a headache for me, and I can only imagine what it's like for the vendors. So we did away with any kind of fees. Our platform works with other businesses' websites. So if you have a link on your website, it can be put onto our platform. And so that way we don't have to take any fees from you. So you get to keep all of the revenue and all of the sales.
Okay, cool. I want to talk about this business model thing just a little bit before we talk about SEO, because I know there's a lot of questions about how to create these offers and how to charge. So what was like the quick story of you coming up with your revenue model, and how did you know how much to charge?
Yeah, that's really hard. I would say when I first started, I definitely didn't value my services as high as I should have. So I had a really low offer because I was looking at it for myself. I was bootstrapping my own business. So what could I be able to afford? And it was basically not really much. And those were the people I was attracting, were all these businesses who are just starting out, who couldn't afford to pay for any marketing and advertising. So while I was using myself as my target audience, that's who I was attracting, were other people who couldn't pay for these services. So my initial offerings were way too low and was not attracting the right target audience. And so when I did this new business model, I had to rethink about who I really needed to be in this marketplace. And it was more established businesses who have been in business a little bit longer, who understand the importance of marketing and advertising and knew what SEO actually stood for. And so when I started redefining who my target audience was for the marketplace, I just doubled all of my prices, is basically what I did. As I continued to grow, those prices will increase depending on what services we're providing. So we offer 4 different packages to enter our marketplace because I do want it to be still an affordable way, because the number one issue for women-owned businesses is being able to afford marketing and advertising for their business. And I can relate to that so much. So we have like a do-it-yourself option to build your own storefront, which is our most cost-effective way to join the marketplace. And then we always have that free listing for our directory. So I want to be able to serve women-owned businesses wherever they're at and scaling their businesses. So if you're looking for like a completely done for you option where you don't want to think about it, we do all the work for you. We have that higher end package available for them as well.
I love it. So it's like the do it yourself, done with you, and then done for you. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are like normal tiers.
Yeah.
Right. And then we do actually have a really good podcast episode with a lady named Janine. This was like a few months ago about pricing. So I'll refer to that in the show notes as well. So let's jump into the SEO stuff, because I know there's a lot of people that are like, it's dead. And I've been listening to some other podcasts. We talk about SEO. It's probably harder to do now because there's so much competition. But why is SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, why is it important? And what exactly is it?
I mean, SEO is really how a back end of a website talks to search engines. It's how people find you in Google searches. So yes, it's definitely very competitive now, but that doesn't mean it's hopeless for people to start. Especially if you're not even thinking about it, you do want to start thinking about it and just at least start doing the basics of SEO. And that's where I kind of really meet a lot of people, especially on our Instagram. If you follow us, I give a lot of great tips on how you can just get started with SEO for your website. Because with our platform, our focus is on SEO to help you grow your presence online. And our platform only helps you because when you join other people's platforms, you actually increase your own website's SEO as well, especially with ours, since we link to your website. So those are called backlinks. So we're giving you extra SEO power for your own website when you join our platform. So getting started with SEO, it sounds scary, but it doesn't have to be. Just installing something simple like a plugin for your website. So if you're on WordPress, something like Yoast SEO or Rank Math, those just take you through the steps of what you need to input. It just fill in the blank. It doesn't have to be that difficult.
When I first started We Wild Women, I was approached by a company who's like, hey, I see you're just starting. We'd love to help you with SEO. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I can do this myself. But it turns out, sure, you can. But the stuff that they were doing was so interesting, just like these meta tags and like just how like every link on your website is so important. Every photo that is uploaded needs to be saved with specific keywords, like everything you touch on your website. Putting like presentations together and submitting presentations online that have your keywords on different platforms like SlideShare, if that's still a thing. And I didn't realize how much that helped with SEO. And the thing about it too is just how long it takes to actually start working. And that's why people are like, no, I'm not going to do it. It's going to take a year. Hell no. I'd rather just do Instagram ads.
I know that is the biggest thing that people don't realize is that SEO, it does take time. So you're not going to see results in a day. You're really playing the long game, but the sooner you get started, the better it is for you in the long term. You don't want to wait till you're 2 years in your business and you've done nothing to optimize your website for SEO because you're missing out on free traffic. That's the thing with the Instagram ad. You're paying a couple $1,000s a month to really build your business through Facebook and Instagram. It's only getting more and more expensive for businesses. SEO is organic. It's free traffic. With SEO combined with like Pinterest, I mean, you can really grow your website for free.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of good Pinterest stuff out there. I know Jenna Kutcher talks a lot about it. She's crushing the Pinterest game. I did for a little bit when we were first doing our content strategy a couple of years ago. We use Tailwind, which is a Pinterest-y app that you pay for. And essentially you can deploy content across different groups, which is great. Takes a lot of time to set up, but then after a while, it's literally just click, click, boom. And there's a lot of traffic coming in. But for us, like when we assessed that traffic over other things that we were doing with such a small team, we just realized it wasn't the ROI we wanted. But I did see how it can be so important, how Pinterest, like having that strategy with your SEO on your website, complemented with Pinterest, can really help you grow. So let's start out with this. Never done SEO before, right? I know what it is. Where do I start?
If you have never done anything with SEO before and you have no idea what you're doing, my first recommendation is to at least just have a blog. Just get started with a blog. Forget everything about SEO. Just start writing blogs. And that's where you can just really start to get that content on your website. But if you're ready to take the next step, you want to start optimizing things. So make sure you have some kind of SEO plugin installed on your website, because that's going to really walk you through the steps you need to take. And it's really not a ton of information. It's going to ask you for a headline. It's going to ask you for a description. It's going to ask you to input a keyword. And keywords are very competitive these days. You're very unlikely to rank in Google with a one-word keyword. So what you're really going to want to do is start looking for what they're called long tail keywords, which are just more than one word put together, essentially. So trying to rank for, if you're a service-based business and you're trying to rank for life coaching, that's probably going to be really hard. Find a couple extra words to couple with life coaching, which you can find these words through free tools that Google provides you. So you just need to sign up for Google Trends. You need to sign up for Keyword Planner, which is Google's like AdWords kind of account, but there's a keyword planner tool that you can access through that account. And that's where you're going to get your keywords. Then it's going to tell you which ones you can rank for, which ones are competitive, and which ones you have a lot of opportunity with. And you want to find those ones that you have that opportunity with. It tells you like how much traffic is actually searching for those keywords. So all you do is take those couple words that Google tells you is a really great opportunity and you craft content around it. And those SEO tools are going to tell you how your keyword is doing within that content you provided. So it's analyzing everything for you and making recommendations. So these free tools that you can sign up for, there's a free version of Yoast and Rank Math, and those free tools are enough to get you really started. Just some really easy things that people can do to help increase their SEO. And I know you mentioned it was images. So optimizing your images is really important to Google. So if you are downloading an image from, maybe you find an image on Unsplash and it's like 2 megabytes big and you're uploading that to your website, that's really bad for Google. You want to, it's called a DPI converter. You just Google that, a free service will come up. You drop that image into that free tool. It gives you an optimized image that you can upload to your website. And that's just basically creating a smaller version of that image so your page loads faster, because Google takes in your page speed very seriously. So if you're going to someone's website and you're sitting there waiting for it to load, that website's likely not going to pop up in Google searches because of how long it takes to load.
Because people are bouncing.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is also really important, is to keep looking at your analytics and seeing what. So if you sign up for, again, another free account, Google Analytics and Google Console Search, that's also a free tool. That'll tell you what people are searching for to get to your actual website. That will let you know what other content you can create. So if people are coming to Lady ChangeMakers and I see that they're searching for, maybe they're searching for an accountant on our platform, I now know that I can create an article around women-owned businesses and accountants, and that'll help drive traffic from Google to my website.
Okay, so before we continue, I did want to tell you a little something. I have worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and asked them one important question. What was your biggest pain point when first starting your business? And the resounding answer was, I didn't know where to start. Now, some of these women have built businesses with several employees and have surpassed the $1 million mark with insane profit margins. But they didn't get there alone. All of them worked with a coach or a mentor who was able to guide them, motivate them, and push them outside their comfort zone. Because launching a business or reaching $1 million in your current company doesn't happen without help and a lot of personal development. That's why I have a one-on-one coaching program to help more women-led businesses grow in line with their vision and values. So if you're a wild woman looking for an experienced entrepreneur to help provide direction, accountability, and light a fire under your butt, then check out my coaching program at wewildwomen.com/coaching. That's wewildwomen.com/coaching. Talking about creating content too, it's like there's so much that goes into that as well. So like, first of all, using those keywords in your header, using those keywords in your URL, keywords in the subheaders and the bullet points and sprinkled throughout the article as well. Right now, it's like trying to understand what is the ratio of like how many times you mention these keywords in it. And is it one keyword that you emphasize per article, or are you using all your keywords in an article?
Yeah, you'll want to limit 1 to 3 keywords. You'll have like one main keyword, and then you can have maybe 2 other kind of long tail keywords that you sprinkle throughout. You want to mention it probably about like 7 to 10 times. Google is constantly updating how SEO performs in their algorithm. Google actually has an SEO podcast that I listen to, so that's really dorky. But they recently came out this year and said that the length of your content article doesn't matter.
Well, because it used to, I was actually going to ask you this, because it used to be like it had to be over 2,000 words or 2,500 words, and articles that were more than 5,000 got all the juice. So that's not the case anymore?
That's not the case anymore. They're looking for quality content now. It used to be called keyword stuffing. People would just shove a keyword as much as they could into an article. There were actually all these tricks that are now actually hurt you if you do them. But people would make these words invisible. So they would change the color of the keyword. You would write it, and then it would look like it blended into the background. So you couldn't actually see it. So that's how you would keyword stuff back in the day. That is no longer allowed. So don't do that. What Google is really looking for now is quality content. So you can actually have an article that's only 300 words, but people love it and they're sharing it. So that's what Google's looking for, is how long are people staying on that page? Are they consuming what you're giving them? And are they sharing it? So Google's looking not for length anymore. They're looking for quality content.
Yes. I mean, it should have been that way to begin with.
And a great trick I tell people, like, I know people, everyone loves these Instagram captions that are, you take up as much room as you possibly can. So they use up all the space. Start by just taking your Instagram caption, put it into a blog, and you're already getting started with at least something on your page.
So interesting. So interesting. So make it valuable content. Like, and then the way that I used to do it is that the blog posts that we used to write, so for my agency, was like one core thing that you're teaching them. So one core takeaway. So you're not just like stuffing everything in there and confusing them and then making this like a 5,000 word essay. They're just like, it's like one thing, right? And this allows you, so if you have your like keyword list, you essentially like say you have 20 that I focus on, it's like almost an article per keyword, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is great. I love this. What is the future of SEO?
I wish I had a crystal ball and knew what the future was.
I'm holding a crystal right now.
But I can tell you, like, the direction of where a lot of things are going right now is personalization. So that is just a big trend in general with the online space, is making sure your website is personalized for who's coming to it. You can do this in a variety of ways. Of maybe they come to a specific blog post that you have, and then a pop-up comes up that gives them, maybe like it's a free download that goes along with that. Maybe I'm teaching you the basics of SEO, and then a pop-up comes up and it's a checklist of everything you need to do to get started. That's a great idea. I'm going to do that today. But creating more personalization, getting people to sign up for your email list so you can create more personalized emails towards your customers. So Google's really looking for personalization, localization. So if you're an international brand, making sure that your website is accessible to different languages. So there's localization tools that you can use with Google that'll actually translate your entire website. So that's if you're more international. Another thing is just what I mentioned before is speed of your website. So making sure that what you're uploading to your website aren't huge files. So it's making your pages load slower. You want your website to operate as fast as it can. A great trick that you can do now that I recently saw with Google SEO is they reward your website for having videos having their own pages. So if you have a bunch of videos on your website that teach something, make sure they all have their own landing page essentially. And then make sure that you are transcribing what's in your video below it as the content, because that will increase your SEO. So Google's rewarding you for having separate videos on different pages. So you could have them all in one place, but also make sure that they have their own page.
So is this like embedding a YouTube video onto like almost like a blog post with it transcribed? Okay.
Exactly.
That seems simple enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the transcription, there's tools out there that you can use to transcribe your videos. And that's just a simple copy and paste into a blog post.
Yeah. So is Google still favoring videos?
Yes. Video content is still very big. It's kind of the way everything is going right now is video content, personalized content, and just valuable, making sure what you are actually serving up your consumers is actually valuable information for them.
Right. So I know there's a lot of listeners that aren't that creative type. Any suggestions on how they can brainstorm content ideas?
I actually have a free resource that I have on Lady ChangeMakers. And it's also in the link in my Instagram bio. But I kind of have these pillars that kind of direct you into thinking of things that you can talk about. You can use it for your social media or for your blog posts. But I even break it into like the sales cycle. So are you promoting something or are you just being educational? And it breaks it up into different categories. So I try to think of things through the sales cycle. So am I just informing the consumer of this topic? Am I just using educational content? And then I list everything that I could possibly talk to somebody about within that category. So for like Lady ChangeMakers, it's really important that we look to the past to know what our future can be. So I go over a lot of women that have made history and what they have done for us. So that's one of my content pillars. And then SEO is, of course, a big one for us. So I break SEO down into bite-sized pieces for our vendors. So just finding out kind of what your niche is and then breaking it down further on how you're solving that problem and breaking it down further into the sales cycle of education. And are you doing a hard sell, soft sell, all that stuff. Yeah. So I do have a free resource that I can send that you can put in the show notes.
Yes, please do that. And it'll be on your website. So talking about SEO and video and creating this content, I know people are like, oh no, this is just more work to do. And people will come to this point where they have to choose over like pursuing Instagram and Pinterest and SEOing their website. Is there advice you can give them on maybe just like simple daily tasks they can do to like chip away at optimizing their content for search?
Well, I would look into make sure you have Google Analytics on your website. You should be analyzing your data monthly, knowing where your traffic is coming from. So 50% of your traffic should be organic traffic. And you want to know where they're coming from, how they're finding you. So for me, Instagram is a great place for me to just show our authority and show our expertise in our marketplace and what we can offer our vendors, but it's not where we get our sales from. A lot of our sales is through networking and through cold calls and just word of mouth is really where a lot of our sales come from. So we use Instagram in a different way than a lot of people do. So just knowing that about how your business operates, but just those bite-sized ways to get started with SEO, again, go just start creating content from a blog. If you are just hearing this and you're just like, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't even comprehend anything she's saying, just take your Instagram post and put it into a blog. When you're on your browser in your Instagram, there's an embed button and it gives you code that you can take that code and you just plop it into your blog post. And so your Instagram post will look very nice. It's got that little square. And then you just copy and paste the caption right next to it. And you're at least getting started. The way you can expand next on that is then to do a little keyword research. So you take the content that you already created on Instagram, and then you search for what people might be looking for to get to that blog post. And then you just start inserting that keyword and rewording things so that you can fit that keyword into there.
Yes, I love it. I'm inspired by all this. And I'm like, now I got to go back to writing blog posts.
And they are still important. I feel like, I feel like they're not valued as much as they should be because they're definitely still a huge driver, especially if you're coupling your SEO efforts with Pinterest. It's only going to increase your organic reach.
Okay. I got to reconsider this too. Yeah. And it's just about creating, like scheduling it in, right? So if it's like with my agency, we used to publish 2 blog posts a week. And back then we're following like the minimum 2,400 words and like all this stuff. And we ended up getting more traffic and more quality traffic by only publishing 1 post a week. But it was like, we spend more time creating really great content. And so volume is important, but it's really just about the value. It's create good content that teaches somebody or inspires somebody, motivates somebody, pushes them to take action. That's what you need to be doing.
Exactly. Yep. 1 post a week is totally fine. What they used to say is start with the blog post, repurpose that into your Instagram, and then repurpose it, create the video around it so you can post it on YouTube, TikTok, and then repurpose it on Pinterest. So you start with the blog post. It's traditionally how the content flow used to go. I honestly, like, Instagram is always my first thought. So I always create Instagram first, and then I start creating everything around that post that I created on Instagram.
So true. The Instagram strategy too is really important. There's actually a link to those two. There's a guest we've had on the show that talked about this, is why I like to use Instagram as kind of like the foundation for content planning, is because there's core pillars and themes and ideas that you kind of put into one place. And it's like carving a turkey, right? It's like you carve off certain pieces of the turkey and that ends up being different content types. Or you could do it the other way too, where you write the blog post first and then that becomes a podcast episode and an Instagram or Pinterest thing. So it depends on how you favor it. Okay, so I have one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that for you?
Oh, it's a woman who blazes her own trail. So it's a change maker. It goes with the name of our business. So women who are just here to make changes that they see in the world. There's a really interesting stat that 90% of a woman's income is reinvested back into her family and her community. So, I mean, women have all the power, and we just have yet to harness it all and put it into action. I truly believe to my core that when women are more successful, our communities and everyone around us is just going to rise to the top with us. So women are the ones who are going to make the changes in this world. We just all need to see it and take the action.
I know, we need to take action. Okay, this was amazing, Jess. So if people want to go online to find you, follow you, or sign up for becoming part of your community, where can they go?
So our website's ladychangemakers.com. Everything's linked right there. We're most active on Instagram and TikTok at Lady ChangeMakers. And that's on all the socials except for Twitter, which is Lady ChangeMaker with no S because it's too long.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been great.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.